Hello everybody, I'm SIKA Ichigo Kamishiro Arclight, and today I'm going to be showing you what I do in Paint Tool SI. This by no means is an official guide, but I'm hoping it will help you and give you some semblance of idea of what I do. And yeah, I've done this before, but I really sucked at it because I just didn't know how it worked, and now I know how it works. I also use Krita and Bang Pro, which are free. I use GIMP, which is also free, but GIMP's more of an image manipulator, and Krita and Bang, they are very good, but I just like Paint Tool SI so much, I just use that one more, so I haven't really got a chance to try those out. I also have Clip Studio Paint, but I just have the trial version right now. I don't have the full version yet, so I can't really give my advice on that, but this one is my favorite. It looks all nice and shiny. So I'm basically going to walk you through what I do. This is the main buttons that you need. This is the top one, new, which you push Control in or just click it. And then you can basically edit the canvas how you want. You can do name, present. I just learned about this yesterday, so I'm not sure if I'm right about this, but I'm pretty sure it just gives you a set size to work with. So if you don't want to deal with all this, you can just click this and you can get like US letter standard size, US legal standard size, stuff like that. But like I said, I don't know, I could be wrong. And then you get your measurements. You can measure your drawing in the inches, where you'd be working in the direct inches of how big your picture would be, centimeters, millimeters, or pixels. Pixels is what I use because I believe everyone else uses pixels. At least everyone that I follow uses pixel measurements and not inches and centimeters. It's just easier. I'm working that. I usually work in very big canvases. They actually used to be very big, much bigger, but I recently scaled down because I noticed everybody else was kind of just doing like small things, and I was just like wanting to like not. So I usually use no more higher than 45 on width or height, but usually I like my canvases a little bit longer than they are going to be wider, or a little bit wider than they are going to be longer. That's just me though. My resolution is set at 350 pixels per an inch, pixels per centimeter. I've seen more people use pixels per an inch. Actually, I've only seen one person use pixels per an inch, so that's what I use. Basically, I don't know what the other one does, but I am going to try it out soon, but I'm not qualified to talk because I don't know. This is basically just the information about the canvas that I'm making. So we just push OK, and then here's the glorious white piece of paper we have to work on. Okay, so I'm gonna start with this side over here first. But first we have, before I do that, this is just basically the settings, and I can't really go into this until I start getting something down on the canvas. So yeah, this is your color wheel, which is what I use the most. I like it here because it looks pretty, so even if I'm not using it, you'll always see it here. Because it's kind of like the symbol of Paint Tool SI for me. I really like it. You can just basically move it around and edit it as you please. And it's just really fun. Anyway, this is the color barometers. I don't use these. But it basically just uses it like that, like the red, green, blue settings that people use. Like I said, I don't use that. And then this is like the hue, saturation, and vivid is what I'm going to assume the V stands for, but I don't know. I don't use these. And then this is like the dark and light. And then last is the swatch pad. I know this doesn't exist in Paint Tool SI 2, because I guess no one used it. This basically is a little thing where you can test out colors that you draw on and stuff. But the only problem is, if I have these all open up, as you can see, you can't see the rest of it. It's just cut off. I know in Paint Tool SI version 2, they give you like a scroller, which is very handy, but they don't have that in this one, so you just gotta close everything up manually. But the ones that I use the most is the color wheel and the color picker. these are set colors, so let's just say I made a color and then I want to pick it. I can use the eyedropper tool to just click on it, and then that will select the color, and then I push a square that I want, right click it, and click set. And then if I want to get rid of it, I just push remove. Cancel is just that you change your mind. So these are like all the colors that I use the most for line art, which is why they're all doing here. It's just what works for me. But I usually keep these ones out the most because it's what I use the most. Next, you have your selectors. You have your standard square selector, which is like just a square or rectangle, whatever you want. Lasso, which basically is like lassoing anything you want to select. And then you have your wand, which basically selects everything, and I'm going to go in depth in that in a little bit later. I think I need to just draw something though first. This is your moving thing. The little arrows basically allows you to move the layer around. Your magnifying glass, which can zoom in by clicking. You can also use zoomed in too far. I don't use this though. Some people also use this up here, which is like a set zoom in, like 70%, 100%, etc. But I mostly use the scrolling tool on your mouse. You know, your little thing between the clickers. You can use it to, if you scroll down, you can zoom in, and if you scroll up, you're zooming out. I know some people don't like that feature at all, but I love it, and it's what I use. Like every time when I'm using Krita or Minibang, I expect it to do it, and I think it does it in Krita, but it doesn't do it in Minibang. So it's just like, I'm used to this and it's not doing it. Anyway, next you got your rotation, which basically allows you to rotate your canvas. You can also use these up here. This is helpful if you need to draw a curve just right. And then use the square tool to set it back to normal. And then you have your flip horizontally. So let me just show you what this is. This allows you to basically just flip your drawing to get a good look at it. Because some people, like, it might help them to understand their drawing more if they see it in reverse. But it does not save it like that. It saves it when it's on normal. So if you have it flipped invert, it won't look like this when you save it. It will look like this. And then you have the moving thing, which basically allows you to move around the entire canvas. But I just mostly use my mouse to do that. I don't use this. And then, like I said, you have the eyedropper tool, which is right here, which allows you to select colors. And then finally over here you have the stabilizer. Now, stabilizers are only really important if you use a tablet. I use both actually. I use a mouse. I've been using mouse first on Painterless, and I made semi-decent drawings on here. They weren't perfect, but they were semi-decent. And now I use a tablet. One thing with me is I don't sketch on Painterless. I sketch on traditional paper, and then I just scan it in and then draw it over it. That's what I do. It just works for me. I haven't gotten to the point where I can just draw on Painterless like every artist I know. But so I don't even do my sketch in Painterless. I do it on traditional paper. If I didn't do it on that, I would not be as good as I am. So anyways, if you have a stabilizer on 0 and you're using it, again, this only works if you're using a tablet. Right now I'm using a Wacom Intuos, which is a very simple tablet, and it's probably one of the cheapest ones out of the most decent tablets. I've liked it a lot. It takes a while to get used to, but once you do, I think it's pretty fun. But anyway, as you can see, the stabilizer is set on 0, and it's really shaky. Like, you can see just like little shakes in it. And it basically gets more stable, obviously, as more higher you get. 15 is the highest on normal settings. But then you get into the S section. S is where your cursor is kind of ahead, and it looks really hard, but it's not. It really is helpful. And right now I'm still at the point where I need to have it on S7, which is the highest you can get, and my mouse is just like way in front of it. And like I said, it seems like it's hard, but it's not. At least I don't think so. But yeah. Anyway, back to the things over here. Next you have your wonderful world of brushes. Okay, this is not like Photoshop, and how in Photoshop you can download brushes. In these, you only get a set amount of brushes. In the official one, you get your pencil, which is this one, which is a very thick, heavy, deep brush. I'm going to change the color because I don't like this color at all. There we go. That's pretty. As you can see, it's really thick. You get your airbrush tool, which is the nice powdery color. It's got the nice soft, smooth edges. You get your brush tool, which blends and kind of blends, and it blends. That's all I can say about it. You have the watercolor tool, which is basically is using watercolors. It can pick up colors as you're drawing, so like that. It's really handy if you want to make like nice blendy textures. You have the marker, which is kind of like the watercolor, but it's also used more for drawing too. Also streaky too, but it's really helpful in coloring certain kinds of hairs. At least that's what I think. You have your eraser, which just erases. Oh wait, no, I clicked the wrong one. Like that. And then this is really cool. I love these tools. These are the select pen, which up here, like I said, you have the select lasso, the select wand, and then the select rectangle. This is select pen. It's basically you can draw your selection. And as far as I know, only Painful Side does this. And it's just like really fun. Because now I can like only draw, I can draw like certain things. And then this is select tool, and then only draw that selection. And then you have the deselect eraser. Oh, I have to draw some. Let's say I got the selection here, and then boom, like that, and then boom. This is really good also if you're wanting to get into the details. Also, you can go right here to clear selection, like that, or you can go inverted, where you can invert your selection to be what's selected is not. If you want to see what you selected, just click the select pin, and that will show it. It's the blue color right there. And yeah. Anyway, next you have the bucket tool. Now the bucket tool works on transparency strict, or transparency fuzzy, or color difference. Color difference is basically where we'll select, well, the color difference, and it's just what's the blue. And right now I have it on target working layer, so it's going to target everything that's on the layer. But you can kind of see that there's some lines, white lines around it. If you want those to get gone, you just move this up, the color difference, which is how much it like selects. So now there's enough layers. And the magic wand tool works on the same principle. Transparency strict, transparency fuzzy, and color difference on what you want to select. And again, you can just move it up to select more, or you can move it down to select less. Also, if you wanted to select in increments, like say you got this selected but you want it a little bigger, you just push Control 1, and that makes it select more as you go along. If that shortcut isn't set up already, I will show you how to do that in a second. Anyway, next down here is the target, working layer, and selection source, and all image. All image basically will select everything on all layers. Like, let's just say I got more than one layer. Make one. And then make something on the third layer. It's just going to work like if all the layers were one. Selection source only works if the layer is on selection source. And I will show you that in a minute. But first, let's get back into the brushes. Next is the binary pen, which people say is good for like pixel art, but I've never used it. I don't like it. But they say it's good for pixel art, then I guess it is. Next you have the blur tool, which basically blends the things together. And then next you have the crayon, which is this like fuzzy tool. And then you got canvas, which gives it like a canvas texture. And then you got paper acrylic, which I guess gives it the texture of acrylic on paper, but for someone who actually draws with that, it doesn't really look like that. But anyway, next you have something I want to show you really important is the settings. And this is, I'm going to go back to pen for this. First you have your regular settings for like the color. Multiply makes it darker like that, and then normal. That's all the pen one has though. The airbrush has only normal, and that let's get to the marker. That one I know has more. The marker has vivid, which is like gives that little pop. Deep, which makes the color slightly darker, but not as dark as multiply, and then multiply. Not every one of them has these settings, only the marker has this one. Oops. And, oops, I keep, and watercolor brush, and I think the normal brush, yeah. The airbrush and pencil only have, normal and multiply. So that's the first setting. Then you have the edges. This is a soft edge. It's the one that looks kind of like a sand castle, and this is the hard edge. It's the one that's all the way to the left, and it looks like the square, and these two are in between. It's basically how much you want to do the brush. So if you're doing the airbrush and you do the hardest one, it will look like that, and that doesn't really look like an airbrush texture. Just put it on the softest one, and then that's what makes it look very airbrushed and fuzzy. Next you have the size. You can do max with the size on this, or you can just use these, which are automatic set ones, like that. Next you have the mini size. Now I didn't understand this at first, so it was just like really confusing, but now I understand it. But I'm gonna go onto the pencil tool to show you what this does, because it will be easier to see. Okay, the mini size is on 0 now, and I'm just gonna draw, and as I lift up my pen, you can see where it tails off to really thin, and I really like that because it's really good for doing like lines like this. Like, it gives a nice texture. But the higher you go, the less it will tail off. See, it's more different. It's kind of like just a chunk. It ends. And if it's on 100, it's like, doesn't tail off at all. Like, it's just the solid texture. But I like it with none at all. So I usually always keep it on 0, but that's just me. Next you have the density. This is basically how solid your brush will appear. So, see, it's kind of got a little transparency to it, and you can see where it's stroking over itself. And the less you do it, the more easier to see. For pen tools, I usually have the density always on 100, but for like airbrush, I might want it on 50. So again, so that way I can give it more of an airbrush aesthetic to it. Then next, you have the shapes. Now, if you don't have the textures installed in your paint tool side, like if you just bought it and they're not there, don't freak out. I'm gonna link to the video of where you get them and stuff. I can't really show you how to put them in because that would make this video too long. But these are basically just the shape in case you don't want to do basic circle. What shape did I do? Oh, here, let's do this one. I know what this one looks like. See, it's like that. And they're really fun for like when you're drawing textures and stuff. Some of them and I really like them. But when you're just drawing, just do simple circle. This is basically how much of a shape it gets. Like if it's on 100, it looks like this little barometer by it, and then if it's on 0, it will look like this. See, it's got barely anything to it. So just, if you're doing that, put it on 100, just play around with it. But if you want to get the full context of what the shape would look like, then do it on 100. Okay, this is the textures again. You have to have these installed too. I'll link to the video down below, or maybe it will be in one of those card thingies that pop up inside. It only comes with like a few textures, like canvas, paper, I think, and then whatever. But these are all extra ones. This one's dirt, 7. This one's cloud, which I like that a lot. Some of these just show up more when you're drawing and stuff, and they're more visibly used. But yeah, and once again, this is just basically showing you how much of a texture you want. Like say you don't want much cloud, put it on 30, or say you want all cloud, and then you do 100. And then you can see it like that. Hopefully. Okay, next you have quality. I always have it on 1 fastest. Now, basically you just gotta kind of play around with this to see what it does, because like I still don't really know how to describe it. Next you have the edge hardness. Let me erase some of this so that way you can see what's going on. Edge hardness is pretty much like, oops, I'm gonna put this back to no texture at all so that way you can see what's going on. It's basically like let me put it up to 100. I think it's basically like on the edge of how many pixels you want it to be. This is what 100 looks like. Yeah, see right here it's like more sharper, and then right here it's kind of got like a fuzzier look. So yeah, that's what that is. Now min density and max density pressure, these do not apply to every pen, and sometimes they do. You just need to push this to have them activated. I'm not going to mess with these because they're like, I don't really know what they do yet. I haven't really discovered them. Excuse me. So, but just play around with it and you'll get the right settings that you want. Again, every setting's kind of different, and everyone, like the brush has the blend option. Oh, also, if you don't see it, just put advanced settings. There you go. Like, the brush has a blend option, which is really good because it helps with blending. Like the pen, it doesn't blend, so it doesn't have that. And again, if you don't see it, just push advanced settings, which is right here. But again, if you have everything open, if you have the advanced settings open, you can't see certain things, so you gotta close everything up. But anyway, I'm just gonna keep this closed for now. Yeah, I think that's almost everything over here. Oh, also, very important, should have said this first, windows. This is basically how you want to see your thing. If you want your layers on the left, you can stop them on the left. If you want them on the right, you can just click Windows, show color tool to the right, and that's basically how that looks. Or if you want it to the left, you can do it to the left. And I usually like it like this because most of the artists I use do it like this, so I'm just used to this. I'm a big copycat, but I've gotten so used to it. This is just the way that I have it, and I think it's also the way it's on Krita. and MIDI bang. So yeah, this is just what I do. Okay, now let's go to layer modes. I think I'm like going way too slow with this video. Yes, I am. So I'm sorry. I'm not a fast talker and I'm not a good explainer. But anyway, I'm going to be opening up a drawing and I think it will help show it. This is just a project I'm working on. The characters are both mine. So, yeah. First you have selection source. This one's the hardest one to explain, so I guess I'm going to explain it first. Anytime the selection source is on, the layer or folder, all these three things work on layers or folders, will glow green. And basically the selection source, let's just say you have the magic wand and you have it on selection source. This will allow you to select everything inside the layers. So it'll basically make everything apply. Like here I have my VR form and then my human form, like right there, and then it basically makes it like all as one. Whereas if I had it on all image, it would have to like apply to everything, including the colors, which I wouldn't want for this because I only want it to work for the line art. So yeah, that's how it works. It's very good for when you're coloring. Hopefully you understand that. I know I'm not the best explainer. I'm sorry. Next you have preserve opacity, which basically preserves the opacity. Yeah, it allows you to only color on what's here. Like right here, the only thing on this layer is my highlights. So that's all I can color on. If I remove it, it's still only colored on that. But I can color right here now if I want, and then I can put it back. And boom, now it will only show up. The one thing I would say though is if you're erasing, you want to take the preserve opacity off to erase it, because if it's on, it won't erase the picture. It will only erase the color. So the highlights aren't erased. Like if I move it, they're still there. See? They're still there. It only erased the color. So if you want to erase, you have to take the opacity off to erase it, because if not, it will just remove the color. I found that the hard way when I was drawing. I had some preserve opacity, and then I was trying to erase, and I didn't get why the lines were still white. The reason why is because it only erases the color. Okay, next is clipping group. I didn't use clipping group. I just used the selection tool over and over and over again, and this saves so much time. Basically, like if I only wanted to color the hair, I would just select inside the hair and then I would just do it. But this is so much more easier. Again, individual folders or this. This basically allows things to only show up on the layer beneath. This is the layer beneath. I got my base color here. I basically achieved it by doing this and then inverting it, and it took a little longer than that. And I just colored bucket filled, and then that became my base layer. And so then this allows things to only show up. Like if I take it off, you can see it's outside of the lines. Yeah, that basically just allows things to be seen on the base layer that's underneath the clipping group. You can tell it's on clipping group because a pink bar will show up beneath it. So let's just say it was the hair. This is what we got right here. This is the base layer, and then now only the highlights will only show up on the part that's underneath. And if I unclipping group it, then, well, let me do this one. You can see where it's going outside the lines. Yeah, so it's really handy and keeps you from pushing the select tool all the time. Next, you have, I should have explained this first. I'm so sorry. New layer. This makes you make new layers, as many as you want. Well, I think there's a limit in how many you can do, but it makes you do as many as you want. Now, the layers are labeled 1, 2, 3, and so on. but to rename them, you just double click, and then you can type in a new name. I spelled my name wrong. I'm a klutz. Yeah, that's basically what you do to name a layer. I know a lot of people don't, but I do, because I just get things mixed up. So I was just like, what did I draw on this? What did I draw on that? So yeah, it's just really helpful to name them for me, but you don't have to. Next is the full line art layer. This is basically a layer that's exclusively on Paint Tool size. So if you're working on a Photoshop file and then you save it, the layer will just turn into a normal layer. It won't be like this. Basically, this allows you to make vector lines and curve lines, and I think I'll talk more about this in a different video. But basically, this is just automatic lines that are like this, and to select them, you can't do this. See, you can't. It says transform, merge, empty. You have to go up here to selection, and then click select CP or select strokes. The shortcuts to those are P and T. And so you just click that, and then everything will go red. That's how you know it's selected. So if you're using a red, it might be hard to see it. Or if you don't want to do that, oh, you click clear CP to unselect. You can always go here. This like selects them individually. But let's just say I got this select and then I move it, it will only move that. The others will remain anchored. They stay anchored at the CP marks, which are these green marks. These marks appear every time you make a curve, basically, like right here. And then this is the precision, which basically makes the line thinner or thicker. By moving it to the left, you make it thinner. Moving it to the right makes it thicker. This is just the regular select and deselect. This is the color tool up here, which changes your lines to a different color. And then this is the width, like say you want it thinner, or say you want it thicker. This is the pen tool, which is basically a normal pen, but then it has CP marks. Again, everywhere, and you can like edit it. You use these to like change the marks, and then these to deform. This one deletes an entire strand, like that. And then this removes an anchor. This allows you to move the entire stroke. This one allows you to make double of a stroke, so good if you're like making like bars or something like that. Sorry if you can't hear me, my computer likes to hum. This deletes a stroke, but it will also delete everything that's selected, so if you got more than one thing selected, it will delete that too. And then this is like point around. I don't really use that one, but I used this for line art for the longest time, and that's what I did. I didn't use that. Yeah, so finally what you have here is this is the folder merge, which basically turns your entire folder into one solid layer, which is really good for that. And then this tool right here is the merge down. Let's say I wanted to merge it down to the base layer. I just click the scissors little diamond, and there, now it's all one layer. Or I could do this one. Let's say I want to keep the layer, but I wanted to merge everything on it down. You do the little plus sign with the layer. It's called transfer down. And that just basically moves everything down, but still keeps the layer on top. Whereas merge down layer would delete this layer and just like merge it all down. Yeah, but that's basically how the layers work. Up here are the effects, and I'm just gonna go backwards. Oh yeah, use this to go backwards. I'm pathetic. There is a limit to how much you can go backwards, and there isn't a memory save. Unlike Photoshop, at least I heard that there's one in Photoshop, and there is a limit, but you can go back pretty far, and I have reached that limit quite often when drawing. So yeah, you might want to just like know what you're doing before you play around, because like you can only go back so far. You use this to save, or you can also do Control S, and that automatically saves your drawing. finally, let's get into layer modes. Okay, pass through basically just makes everything kind of ignore the bottom, so it just passes through it. I don't like that. Normal is, well, as it says, normal. Multiply. I'm gonna open this up and then open up the hair right here. Oh, you click on a folder to close it, you click on it to open it. Now, it's kind of hard to see, but this is the highlights that I did, and right now it's set to screen. If I put it to normal, you can't see it anymore. That's because I actually used the same color on all of these, but I just made them have layer mode. Usually I don't do this. Usually I just do a darker color to color it up, but this is just a quick drawing, so I just wanted to do this instead. So I just put it on screen, and that makes it lighter. Screen makes things lighter, and it has kind of a transparency to it. So let's just say let's unclip group it. Let's just say I move it like here. You can't really see it because it's kind of thick, but it kind of has a transparency to it. Multiply is darker, and it has even more of a transparency to it. But again, it's kind of not showing up right now because I use such a dark color. Overlay kind of just gives things a pop. Like if your color is more on the darker side, it will give it more of a darker text feeling, but if it's more on the lighter side, it will make it more lighter. It just basically gives it more of a poppy feeling. I don't know what's worded. Luminosity, you can't really tell, but at first, if you're using like the pen tool, it just makes it look like you're made things a little bit lighter than the screen does. See, it doesn't look that different. But what luminosity actually does, you can see it more as a brush tool, like this. It kind of gives things like a glow effect, and it's really cool. Like if you're doing like lanterns and stuff, and you can see that it's kind of looks like a little light, and then that's what it would look like if it disappears. A lot more poppy. Like I said, it's really fun if you're doing like stars or lanterns, I think. You color over a lantern and then you just make a glow effect, and it really does make it look like it's lights, because like if I got like right here, see, you can even see it against my face, so it really does make it look like a random lights just shining. It's one of my favorite modes. Shade does the exact opposite. I think multiply is the opposite of screen, where they're both slight transparencies, while multiply makes it darker and screen makes it lighter. Then shade would be the opposite of luminosity. Again, you can't really see it because I use the pen tool, but if I use the airbrush tool and I use a little bit of lighter color, you can see it's very vivid, and instead of having a light glow to it, it has a dark glow. So it basically just makes things darker but having a dark glow to it. Whereas luminosity makes things lighter and has a light glow to it. So it's really good if you like want to make like a cool like black hole effect or something like that. I don't know, but I really like the way it looks. Luminosity shade, you can't really tell. It just looks darker because again, this is such a dark color. I use light color. Basically does both. It makes dark colors appear really dark, but it makes light colors like this. Oh, no wonder I have it on the wrong one. Make really light. See, so dark colors become really dark, like this, and light colors become really light, and it has that kind of entire glow setting to it. And like I said, these are just really fun to play around with, and I really like them. I know in Painttool Side that there's more effects on it for version 2, but I have version 1, so this is basically what I'm sharing to you. So yeah, and like in this case, I just didn't use any different colors at all. I just used the same color over and over again, and I got darker colors. Although I don't always recommend this. Like sometimes you just want to put like a darker color that's like, and do it like normally like that, like to get like a cool effect, so you don't always want to do this. This is kind of a lazy way, but like I said, this was just a simple drawing. Yeah, so that's pretty much almost everything. Oh, almost forgot. Up here you have the effects. These are the textures. I think you can get more, but this is the only ones I have. This is paper, which kind of gives the layer grungy paper-y text to it. You can do this to make it bigger, or this to make it smaller. Like say you don't want it to be that potent, or say you want it to be potent. You basically use this to make it look sharper. Like if you really want it visible, you can see it like good, but if you put it to 0, you can't see it at all. And then like 50 is like medium. And then right here is the layer's opacity, like if you want to make it like see-through. It's really fun. Oh, you also have watercolor A, which gives it, I guess, watercolor paper effect. I'll turn the opacity up so you can see it. And then watercolor B, which is the same. And then regular paper, which I already showed you. And then canvas, which I guess is supposed to give you the canvas texture, but for someone who actually has drawn on canvases, it doesn't look like that canvasy. But whatever. Anyway, I got this on normal one now. And then here is the effects. There's only one. It's fringe. And it's really fun because it makes a really cool effect. Let me get a lighter color that you can see. Now you can't really see right now because the width's so small, but you use this to make it bigger, and it basically makes like, well, a darker line around it, and it's really cool. I used it on a water trick, and you just here, let me see if I can find it. You click open to open files up, and then you just go around to looking around where you put your picture. Here it is. I used the fringe effect on this water right here. You can see how it's got the layer around it, and it made it look really neat. I got the idea from Natsu, because like I said, I'm a copycat. I'm not original. And yeah, those are just basically the layer effects. Okay, next is just basically the basics. I already showed you this, at least, yeah, but right here is just basically if you want to make something disappear in case you don't want to click it, but clicking it's just so much more simpler. That's basically what this is. This is the navigator. This basically shows you the picture right here and shows you where you are on the canvas, but it takes up so much room, like with the layers, that I do not use it, and many of other people do not use it because it just leaves more room for layers down here. This is the quick bar, view selection, status bar. This is the cursor show, which basically you can't see the dot anymore. So because some people I know that might be interesting, but I like it because I like the dot. This is basically using a dot cursor instead of a pointed cursor, but I like the pointed cursor instead. And then this is like, this one kind of scared me because this full screens it, so you can only see that, and I got on there and I didn't know how to get out for the longest time. But you just go to Windows and reset it, and then this is just reset all windows to position. Okay, anyway, this is the edits, basically where you can cut, copy, paste, and select. Canvas, this is allows you to edit the canvas, like say I wanted this bigger, I can just make it bigger from here. This is changing the resolution, like if I didn't like the resolution that I had right now. Oops. This allows me to like flip it vertically or invertically, and this will be saved. It's not like whereas this isn't saved, but this would be saved. So if I did want to flip it. This is just the rotation of it. I'm not going to mess with that right now, but this is rotating clockwise 90 degrees and flipping it horizontally and stuff like that. This is the layers, allowing you to make a new layer, new line work layer, new set layer, copy, paste, delete, merge, invisible. This is the hue and saturation. Now this is works on individual layers, or it can work on the entire drawing folder. I'm gonna turn on folder. The hue basically changes things around. Now since I'm doing a folder, it's doing everything inside the folder. But yeah, it basically changes the colors of things. So now I'm a rainbow freak. And this basically is the saturation. So if I wanted like grayscale, it's like that. But then if I wanted like really poppy, where it hurts my eyes, it's like that. And then this is the luminosity, which is basically how light and dark I want everything. Yeah, and then this is the brightness and contrast, which this is like on the brightest, it makes things like brighter, as it says, contrast, and then color deep, which basically gives things a little stronger and darker. And like I said, you just do filters. This is view. Okay, this is basically just the average things, which of how you're viewing the thing, but let's do new, because that one is important. Like, say you didn't want the navigator on here, which is like that, which gives you a nice picture, and like I said, it is nice to see your picture there, but it takes up so much room. So say you want that, but you don't want the navigator. Make that go away. You click view, and you click new. Next thing you know, you got two of them. Now, you pop this out by clicking this. Not this one, this will just fold up paint to the side. But you click this one down here. Don't click the X, because that will exit out, and if you don't save, it will give you the option to save if you haven't saved, but it will exit out. So basically, you just pop it out, and boom. Now I got two. So I just zoom out, and now I can see it. Now, anything I do will not show until I release the pen on here, but it still allows you to see it, and it's better than a navigator tool. And then the rest of the things are just like the rotation and zooming in, which you can easily do from here, or the scrolling. At least that's what I think. Windows, pretty much already showed all of this. And then there's Evers. This is the help. This is the keyboard shortcuts. If you notice, I've been using a few shortcuts for things. This basically allows you to edit them. Like, I was telling you how I did the selection. So we go down to select, and invert selection, increment selection, and then I put it on control 1. So now anytime when I select something, if I want it to be bigger or bigger, I just push control 1, and then it gets automatically bigger. And you can make basically a shortcut for anything. If you don't want to go through this way though, you can just double click a pen, and then you got your settings of your pen. I should have showed this earlier. This is your individual stabilizer for the pen. It's not this, it's just the individual stabilizer. Like, say you wanted one pen to be more stable than the other. Like, I need my brush tools a little bit more stable, so I'm gonna mess with this right there. And this is the pressure sense stabilizer of how smooth you want it to be. And then this is the shortcut key. This is on in right now, but I could change that if I want, but I won't. I'll just leave it an end. And basically, if I just push N on my keyboard, it automatically, let's get to the brush, it will automatically go to there. And then this is just the system ID, and then this is the options, things you want. This is where you change it if you're using a mouse. Right now I have it on pen, but this is what you would do if you're using a mouse. And this is the drift, which I do not know, because like I said, I did use the mouse before I used the tablet, but I didn't know you could do this, so I never had it set to mouse, so I don't know what that's like when it's set to mouse. But if you're a mouse user, then switch to there and I guess try it out. And then that's just the version info. But yeah, I think that's almost everything I got. The last thing is the save. Save basically allows you to save the drawing. Obviously, save as is basically if you want to save your drawing but as a different name. And then export is basically if you want to save it as a different file. SI files can only be opened up in Paint Tool SI. They're abbreviated as capital SAI. They are, like I said, only open up in SI, and how you can tell if you have a SI file is the SI logo will be up in the corner. And then Photoshop, which can be opened up pretty much in everything. So let's say I made this drawing right now. It's a Paint Tool SI photo. I just exported it as a Photoshop file, and now I can open it up in my GIMP, Krita, or MIDI Bang to edit it how I please, because SIs can only be opened up in SI. That's the downside to them. And then you got BMT, which I don't use, JPEG, which I do not export any of my drawings to, but I do have some JPEG files on here from other people. PNG, which is what I use. It's just your normal flat image with one layer. And then Targa, which I don't use. But those are the only options you get on Paint Tool SI. If you don't want to push export, then you can just push save as, and you can change it here, file type. And it's the same ones, listed by their abbreviations though. But right now I don't want to do that. And then always use file viewer, which I don't know what that does. And I don't really want to know. So I'm just going to keep it on. And then this is the close, which if you want to just close it up, and this is the exit. Close up the drawing, and then this is the exit button if you want to exit out of Paint Tool SI. Anyway, these were more just tips on how to use Paint Tool SI. If you want to know how I actually color things and stuff, I will be back with another video, and hopefully it will be more helpful than this one. I don't think this was very helpful, but if you thought it was helpful and if you liked it, please let me know. If it was not helpful, I apologize in advance, and I'm sorry that the video is so long. I'm just not a good talker, but I hope to get better, which is why I make these videos. But anyway, I haven't been doing very many speed paints, and I'm still going to be doing them. They're just not going to be as often. I don't really care about growing my channel and subscriber forms. I just pretty much do whatever I want. So yeah, that's pretty much what I do. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Goodbye.